Why isn't this on the map?
Now what's wrong?
Are you blind, man?
Hi, this is the Professional Amateur Hour coming to you with another review. This week, Leo sent me The Final Voyage, or if you prefer the German title, Das letzte Land, which I think translates as like The Last Land. Anyways, this 2019 film was directed by Marcel Baron and stars Torben, Föllmer, and Milan Pessel, among others, of course. The story of this movie is about this spaceman, and he kind of escapes his work compound or whatever it might be on this, planet in the far future. And this planet's just like, covered in storms all the time. And so he finds this spaceship in the desert. So he gets in there and starts putting it back together. And then this bounty hunter shows up. And instead of, returning the guy to his, the place he escaped, he decides to join him. And he's like, I'm out of here too. Like, let's fix this up and get going. So they do that. And then they shoot themselves into outer space. From there, they have to kind of learn to get along, as well as, pick a direction to go in and what ultimately they're going to, have as their goal. So they, argue about that, of course, and, they kind of get on each other's nerves, but ultimately, where they will go, well, for that, you gotta watch the movie and find out. All right, so let's discuss this film. Well, this one, Leo did send it to me. He kind of sent it to me by accident. He was trying to send a different film, but I guess he had the, the links mixed up. And with this one, it was the dubbed version that he sent to me. So I did watch the dubbed version. I saw it was on Tubi, but I think that might be the German version. So, you might have to know German or just be willing to read subtitles. And with this film, I have to say, ultimately, I kind of enjoyed it for what it was. It's a low budget science fiction movie. So you kind of have to, set your expectations where they are. But with this one, I think the set, I really enjoyed the set. So you might have to lower your expectations for what you'll see on screen. But with that being said, what was on screen, I thought was pretty good, particularly with the set. It's just this spaceship. And I gotta say, it's really well realized for what it is. Just the different compartments and, where they have to fix stuff. And they're always fixing this, piece of junk spaceship that they're traveling in. They're fixing the water cooler, fixing the heating, fixing the thrust, fixing everything. And so there's long segments of them just like going around this like little spaceship trying to fix stuff. And it's really small, actually. It's like probably the size of like a camper van or something like that. So it's really just kind of like one room, and there's a door that can cut off the room. And so it's really small, but at the same time, it's there, right? Like this is their set. This is something they've actually made and physically there. And so they're tinkering with it. They're, moving things around. And I gotta say, because it's such a small set, like it works for what it is. It feels like it's them like in a rust bucket in outer space. And I gotta say, I really did enjoy kind of that just kind of feeling and atmosphere that it creates because of it. Another thing certainly was the lighting of it all, and of course the filming with that as well. The lighting, it has a lot of just kind of like these, half faces kind of lit up. And so the lighting certainly adds to the atmosphere where they kind of are just, floating through space, and that's all they got to do. So it kind of shows the light and the dark of these characters. So yeah, certainly the filming techniques that they use as well, I think work for what it's trying to present. And what it's trying to present is this kind of like slow burn sci-fi one that has this more atmosphere than you would regularly have in something like this. Also, I thought the acting was pretty good. I know I watched the dub version, so sometimes it's harder to, tell how good the acting is. But these characters, like, they get obsessed with, stuff on the spaceship, whether it's some leaf they find or some direction or heading that they have to travel. They get really obsessed with it, and they look obsessed with it. Like their eyes are popping out of their heads sometimes and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I thought the acting certainly was good, especially since it's only two people in the whole thing and they're trapped, with each other. I thought that was, certainly something that worked. And beyond that, another thing that worked, I thought was kind of just how it all kind of comes together. It certainly has these motifs or themes that, kind of run throughout it all. It kind of reminded me of another movie called The Lighthouse, where it's just these two guys in a lighthouse and they're driving each other crazy. Kind of similar things happen in this one, except, less kind of weird stuff, I guess, but there's still like a little mystery that they have to solve, and they're ignoring each other, and then they have to get along, and one person locks another person out, and how that has to be played out and stuff like that. And so it is just kind of like watching these two guys drive each other crazy for 2 hours. I mean, like, that's kind of what science fiction could be about, certainly. And certainly if you're stuck in a spaceship, like, that's what you gotta do, right, to pass the time and stuff. So yeah, I thought all of that kind of motif stuff and certainly the themes do work in this one. And that brings me to what doesn't work with this film. Well, this movie is a slow burn of a movie. It is really slow at times where nothing is really happening, or something that's happening again and again. Like, they're always tinkering on this spaceship. So they're, doing a wrench over there and doing a screw over here for like 10 minutes on end. And so I found with this one, because it was such a slow burn, I ended up, reaching for my phone quite a few times in this one, and then, playing on it for 5 minutes, and then the next segment happens, and, I'm ready to get back into it. And so I would say you'll probably expect, to do that as well. Certainly it is a real slow burn. So that is, I would say, probably the biggest thing that would turn people away. Like, at some point, you're just not interested in it, but your phone's right there, why not? So yeah, it's a real slow burn movie. And not only that, but some of the storylines that they kind of introduce and explore absolutely go nowhere in the end. Like, they're never kind of resolved even. And so they're just like, for example, they're just reading through these files, and like, you're kind of reading it too, and so there's this like bunch of text on the screen that you gotta read, which adds to that kind of slow feel of it all. But then they never really discover what happened on the spaceship, and so that was kind of disappointing. And there's a few mysteries here or there, and it's just like, where did that go? Like, I never got any answers. And that's, I guess, part of the mysteries of the universe out there, that you wouldn't, get answers anyways. But this one, you will at least hope to get some answers. And then the way it ends also is like mysterious as well. So yeah, don't expect to get too many answers from the, stuff it brings up. And the last thing I gotta say is I would probably recommend watching the dub version, because it's so slow, right? So you can look away from the screen and still can just, listen to it and understand what's going on. Unless you speak German, then, listen to the German version. But the thing with the dub version is that they don't even try to like match up with the lips like at all. It's just, probably just translations of what they're saying. And that doesn't always, work for their mouth movements. And so that was just something where I just kind of like, turned my brain off in the end and just said, yeah, this voice belongs to this guy, this voice belongs to that guy, and just kind of, went along with it. So yeah, the dubbing wasn't particularly good, but at the same time, I preferred the dub version for this one, just because, I could look away that way and, keep on going with it. So yeah, it's one of those kind of double-edged swords, I would say. So would I recommend this movie? Certainly if you are kind of a more hardcore sci-fi fan, I would probably say yes. Just remember that it is a slow burn. So certainly if you're into slower movies, like the original Blade Runner was pretty slow. And so if you can sit through these kind of slower movies, yeah, I think you kind of get rewarded with some sci-fi mystery stuff. So yeah, if you want to, press play on this one. Like I said, I think it's on Tubi, but I think that might be the German version. I saw on IMDb, it's on a few other places like Plex or something. So yeah, it's out there for you to enjoy if you so choose to watch it. As for a rating, well, I'm going to give it the score of 4, which is the okay score. Certainly okay if you're willing to sit through the slow burn of it all, but I imagine that's probably going to keep some people away. So ultimately, yeah, I think a 4 is well deserved. And with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.